Steven and Larry, and we're talking Swish.
Welcome back, everyone. Talking Swish, Larry here, along with my partners, Duy and Steven. Guys, how are we doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, man. We went to another 1K this weekend, and we both did pretty well. You were really close to top 8ing. You had a really good start with elementals, and it was the first time you'd ever even picked up the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty awesome. And then I made top 8 and lost to eventual finals splitter, Logan Hoberty, I think is how I pronounce his last name, but I told him I'd give him a little shout-out today on the show. But anyway, lost in top 8 with some Amulet Titan, and if anyone's interested, I will be posting an article on that deck later this week, which you already alluded to on Twitter, Larry, so people are already expecting this. I'll be getting that article out in the next few days. But yeah, it was a good weekend to go play some more Paper Magic. I didn't lose my wallet this time, because the last time we went to post-board gaming, I lost my wallet, and all of the winnings from the event was in my wallet. So the event already went much better than that, even though last time I think I split either in top 4 or the finals, but losing all my winnings and my wallet was a huge negative.
Man.
And so that didn't happen this time. But funny enough, before I even went to the event this time, I took all my cash out of my wallet, so I didn't have any cash in my wallet. So even if I did lose it, I wouldn't lose a bunch of cash. And literally the next day, I went to a thing with Julia. We went to Holly, which is a Ren fair in Michigan. For those that don't know, it's a pretty big one. And we went there, and of course, I needed cash for like everything there, and had no cash in my wallet, and none of the ATMs worked. So that was how that worked out for me. But it was still good value to not lose my wallet, I think. So I guess I can't really complain.
That's funny.
Yep.
Little double whammy for you right there.
Wow.
Classic. Yep. But no, I'm doing well. I'm ready to do another podcast. Overall, it was a fun weekend. So
how about you, Duy? What'd you do for Labor Day weekend?
Oh, I mainly relaxed because, as you know, I was traveling a ton between work and more work. I had to do trade shows on a local level and then a state level. And I mean, not state level, but a national level. And then I had to get ready for a speaking engagement. And then after that, I had to go to a wedding. And then finally, after a week and a half, I was able to come home. So I mainly relaxed. But I did go to a small barbecue yesterday, which was good.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, barbecues are always a good time, so I think you did it right. I know, me personally, I just worked, besides the 1K that we did, Sunday, me and Steven got to, I went over and hung out with a buddy on Sunday. Then in the evening, me and Steven got to enjoy a wrestling pay-per-view, which is being called probably the greatest one that's been on TV in probably like 20 years.
Wow, really? I mean, I'm not surprised, dude. I love that. I think that's my favorite one I've seen. Yep. Literally, for those that don't know, I'm like a giant Edge fan. Edge is like easily my favorite wrestler of all time. And I even think this event was like more interesting and more exciting than when Edge returned at the Rumble, and even when he had some big matches at events. I still like the pay-per-view was so good, dude. If you're into wrestling, you enjoyed that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I think. For sure.
See, so I was super skeptical because I had to pay $50 for that, right?
Oh, that's fair.
So
yeah.
I was skeptical going in because I haven't bought a pay-per-view in many years because WWE spoiled us with it being right on like either their network. Now it's on Peacock, where I pay $5 a month and get pay-per-views. But I will say, if I could go back, I'd pay the $50 again.
Yeah, it was well worth it, man. That was a great product. And it makes me hopeful that AEW is going to be here to stay and is going to continue to give us a good product. And hopefully them being around doing good stuff like this will get WWE shit together too, because honestly, they've been pretty unimpressive in
don't
multiple
worry. Raw was unimpressive too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
I know. It was funny.
Yesterday or
last night. Yeah. What's funny enough is a bunch of Magic. There's more Magic players that are wrestling fans than I thought. because it was blowing up on Twitter, and I'm like, from among Magic players, and I was like, let's go. And everybody came to the same conclusion that the event was great. There wasn't a bad thing about the event, and that's why, like, if I'm paying $50, I don't want bad things for my event.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want Alexa Bliss versus random that I don't even know.
Right.
For like no reason at all.
That was pretty funny, though. You were pretty angry about that at the theater.
Yeah. Also, for those that don't know, the Fiend was like one of my favorite characters. I'm typically a big fan of like the spooky character type of thing. And them releasing the Fiend and then still using Alexa Bliss as like a Fiend character still pretty much just makes me want to vomit. So had about enough of that. But anyway, that's enough about my opinions on wrestling. But
yeah, that was our Sunday night. Monday was pretty uneventful, at least for myself. I worked most of the day. I worked from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. So I had a pretty short day. I did instead of like stopping for a lunch break, took lunch, met a friend over at Garfield Park here in Grand Rapids, and threw around a disc golf with him. So, so went and did that. It wasn't hot, which was always a plus. I was still sweating under my hat, though, because I was wearing all black yesterday. And then there was this group of 4 behind us that wanted to keep, like, staying right on our ass the whole time. And we're like, guys, we're like, will y'all suck or something? And just relax. I was like,
yeah.
But there was one dude that I swear he did like 2 rounds because he came by like from behind us twice. Like, I swear. Like,
yeah, I'll do that when I'm playing by myself. I'll run through content. I'll run through the course pretty quick. So people will let me pass, but I never press it, and like it's never a requirement. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But yeah, I'll do that a lot where I'm running multiple laps of a course if it's a nice course. Like Garfield's really nice for that.
Yeah, Garfield, decent course. It's pretty spread out. Like, I like that it feels like you're away from everything else going on, which I think is super nice. They cut them trees though.
Oh, really?
They can cut them trees. I'm saying they could just cut.
Oh no, you need those trees there. It makes it interesting courses. Like what is it? Hole 7, I think it is, where you got to cut to the left and arc back to the right. Like, that's great.
So I forget what hole it was. So we're sitting there. There's the hole. There's a tree in the like right in front of the hole. I get there. This lands right behind the tree, so now I have to putt from behind the tree and hope for the best. Like, I hope I can angle this without being the tree's huge, so I can't actually see the hole now. So I'm like, well, F Larry. But it is what it is. It's the only course I knew in town too. I guess there's one that they were at Riverside originally, but I work here in Kentwood and stuff, so I want to stay in my area.
Yeah. I can give you recommendations to all of them, or we should just go throw around together.
I told you like last year, and you were like, no.
I moved away.
We literally live right next to a very good park with a very good.
Yeah, that's a decent course. I hate the first 5, but after that, it's real good.
Were you talking about you were still here in town last summer?
That's COVID.
We were just going and drafting together, but we couldn't go throw disc golf.
We didn't draft until December.
Bro, that's not true at all. I literally joined a disc golf group with you.
No, I'm saying we didn't draft and we didn't do the cube draft until December.
No. We drafted because you guys are going on one, and I think it was like a 45-minute trip, but it got rained out. Because I remember Kyle was someone I was like, I want to learn, and I was thinking about getting in a disc golf because I feel like it'd be a good little thing to get my steps in.
It is. It's very good.
And then
I got a good hike in this weekend from it.
Yeah. Thankfully, because I do DoorDash and stuff for a living, I get a lot of steps in regardless. But you can never get too many. And it's fun.
All right. I owe you at least 1 or 2. Oh, by the way, Garfield's great because if you go disc at Garfield on Sunday, right, you can go there and then you play a good round in the afternoon. Afterwards, you can head over to Elk Brewing and they have like $2 off their pints for their craft beer, so you can get a good craft beer for like $3 or $2, and so you can have a good beer afterwards.
Ooh, this is now you're speaking my language. Well, yeah,
I
we'll
am pretty
definitely.
good at that.
We need to do that before the snow comes. Yeah, I guess we could
Yeah.
disc golf in the snow. It ain't like regular golf.
They actually have things for it where you get little tags or you highlight spray paint to make it more vibrant color, or they'll put little tails that they'll put on the disc. That way, when it's going through the air, you can see it a little bit easier. And when it lands, it still sticks out of the snow a little bit.
Now, here's the real
Makes
question:
sense.
Is Steven coming with us?
Oh yeah,
I'd
dragging
be down.
along.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was my first really hands-on experience with it. I had a great time.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
horrendous at it. I think I went
Oh.
one time with both you guys know Don Lee. I went one time with Don Lee, and I think Kevin Adringa might have been there too.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
But anyway, I went with them and fucking was absolutely horrible. But it is fun. For sure.
by the time we got the whole 9, I was 17 over.
Holy, okay, I don't.
I didn't.
I might have been about that bad. Actually, I was that bad.
Keep in mind, it was my first time ever. It was
Yeah.
not good.
That's not that awful for your first time, honestly. Like, if it's your very first time, you've never thrown a disc before, you're averaging +2 on each hole. That's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, like after a while, I was only going like 1 over on a bunch of like holes in a row. I think it was like between like 10 and 14. I was like 1 over. Then you got that
Not bad.
super long one that goes around
that
by
one's
the
fun.
soccer field. It's the easiest one because it's all open, but it's also hard at the same time because it's far. And I don't think I'm
it's a long
throwing
hole.
correctly either. So because I've never really played frisbee or nothing. So I don't.
Yeah.
But I will say it's super fun. Something I definitely would be invested in doing more because it was just enjoyable and especially if you're with the right people.
Yep.
So I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm doing a little quick tour of all the nearby spots near me right now to see which courses are worth visiting and which ones are just going to be a pass.
That's fair. Now, before we move on, is there one in Grand Rapids that you call a pass?
Yeah, there is.
Which one?
So I don't like Riverside.
Okay.
So I don't like it because I'm not a big fan of water hazards in general, and so I think it is Riverside that's downtown, right?
Yeah. Riverside's the one that's right by the river, hence the name.
Well, I'm just trying to remember because there's a bunch of courses there. So like for me, when it comes to Grand Rapids, like if you're gonna play there, they're like the easy ones that you can just go to and it's an enjoyable course is gonna be like JC and Old Farm. They're great, and then Johnson Park after the remodel, one of my favorite courses. If you're a beginner, Heritage Park is great. They have an awesome little course you can just walk through it with. If you're willing to travel a little bit further, Lowell has Fallisburg, and that's one of my favorite courses. And then I really enjoy Garfield as well. The courses that I just hate are, like I said, like Riverside. I don't want to go by there. Also, Highland Park.
Not familiar with Highland.
It was miserable, and I think it was just because it wasn't upkept at all. Like none of the brushes was trimmed down. The grass was real high outside of the very, very main parts of the park. And it was just miserable to play the whole time. Like we pushed through it to finish the whole course, so I can say that I played the course, but awful. Absolutely awful. And outside of the water hazards on Riverside, I do enjoy that park, but there's just too many holes that are near the river that I just don't like losing my disc.
Yeah, I wouldn't lose the disc.
Right.
No, I mean I would go get it.
Right.
You're going into like pretty deep water, and sometimes that water is real nasty. So I just said it wasn't worth it.
Absolutely horrible. Yeah.
Oh no, we taking a drink.
I mean, you can go. I'm not going to stop you from going. You can go. You can go after my disc.
I'll be the one to throw your disc in the water and be like, how many strokes are you above now? No, but all jokes aside, it sounds like we all had some fun weekends, or at least some relaxing weekends. It was a good Labor Day. I would consider our Labor Day good in all rounds.
Absolutely.
Today we are starting a series, though. I was talking with you guys a little bit about this. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. There's a Pauper announcement coming. Did that happen yesterday? Or was it? Did they announce?
I'm not sure. I'm not aware.
Did they announce? I don't think so. Was it?
Yeah,
I thought they were supposed to do. I thought they were supposed to do that yesterday. Nope, they didn't. I thought they were supposed to do it yesterday. I guess it's next Monday. They said there was going to be a ban announcement.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought so too, but it probably just got delayed because of the holiday.
That would make sense.
Whatever, they're going to do it next Monday then. So, with that being said, we're going to be doing a little series which was inspired by the announcement, where we're going to go and revisit the ban list for different formats. We're going to be covering Modern, Legacy, Pioneer, and Historic. And with those ban lists, we're going to break down, we're going to go through the cards, and we're going to talk about if we think the card is actually still suitable to be on the ban list, or maybe we need to bring it back to the format to see where it stands. And we're going to give some of our reasons. We're all going to go through these cards. There's some cards we're going to group together, like the ones we're about to start with. And this week we're going to start with Modern. Next week, if you're not really a Modern player, you're more of the Eternal formats like Legacy, stay tuned next week. We're going to be doing the Legacy ban list. But, like I said, we're going to be doing the Modern ban list. We're going to talk about some of these sweet Modern cards that they deem too powerful for the format, which is subjective, but at the end of the day, they threw down the ban hammer. So let's start. I know there's probably some on the list that were banned initially. Like, I don't remember like the initial ban of Modern. Let's talk about the artifact lands just to kick it off.
Yeah, it's a good way to start.
This is like with Ancient Den.
Ancient Den, that's the white one. Basically, there's one of every color. They're basically a basic land, but they are an artifact.
Yep.
They tap for one color, but they're an artifact land. They come in untapped.
Unfetchable.
What's that?
Unfetchable.
Can't fetch them. They're not actually a plains or actually a forest, but
which is relevant.
Yeah,
like
it is. Oh, it definitely is. Yeah, when I was saying that, I was just saying that they tap for one generic of their color, basically.
All right, so the artifact lands. Do you guys know if these were actually in the format ever?
No, they were not. They were part of the initial ban list.
That's what I was wondering. Is there a spot that I could find the initial ban list?
Yeah. Yep. I will drop it for you right now.
Oh, sweet. That'd be awesome.
It'll be good for all of us to reference, I think.
Yep. I agree 100%. So yeah, like I was saying, we have the Modern ban list, and the first ones we want to touch is the artifact lands. They haven't never been in Modern. There's been a lot of speculation at times that like, I think they might give us them, and then they were like, no, but we'll give you some tap versions of them. We'll try to water them down a little bit.
Right.
I don't mind them right now. I like them testing the waters a little bit with that.
Yep, I think them coming into play tapped is a lot different than them not coming into play tapped.
Agreed. Are they? I forget. Are they fetchable?
No.
Nope.
They didn't make the new ones fetchable?
Well, kind of. They're fetchable. There's a saga.
Okay, I didn't know if can they?
Yeah,
are you sure?
There's 0-mana artifact.
No, because because it's the same with EE and stuff where it has to say exactly 0. It's like, for example, you can't grab Esper Sentinel with Saga
or Lotus Bloom.
Yeah,
Lotus Bloom would be really busted.
Lotus Bloom doesn't have a mana cost, but I believe the artifact lands you can fetch it up. I thought maybe not.
I don't think so because they don't technically have a mana cost, right?
Yeah, they don't technically either.
Okay.
Yeah, because I learned that. I was learning a little bit more about sagas because you can't grab Esper Sentinels with them.
You know what? It was because I was playing the war pile, and they were letting me. I thought it was cute that this war pile was paying 2 of the artifact lands, so I could war for 0 to get a land ramp. Yep. You guys are right.
Yeah, that's a different. Yep.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Right. So let's go. Let's do a little round table. We'll start with Steven for this one. Steven, do you think these lands are suitable to stay on the ban list, or do you think these are something that we should reintroduce or introduce finally to the format?
Well, considering some of the other cards that are now on the ban list, and considering kind of the fact that they've introduced the tapped ones, I think that they actually maybe could try these. They're probably too good. Because I've I haven't really played with these lands. I've never seen didn't Pauper Affinity play these lands? I think they did, didn't they?
Yeah,
Aren't they
I'm pretty sure. I think they're banned in Pauper as well.
Yep. Maybe for a while they weren't though, or something. I'm not
guys,
sure, but
they are not banned in Pauper.
Oh, they're not banned. They're not.
Yeah,
banned.
I was about to say, from what I've watched of Pauper, I'm pretty sure I've seen like Disciple of the Vault, killing people with artifact lands. But anyway, I don't know. I could buy that they actually might be okay. And there are a few reasons I think they might be okay. The first reason is that, like we've just talked about, the tapped versions are currently in the format, and none of the affinity decks are even top decks at the moment. I mean, there are a few of them that are kind of fringe playable or whatever, but none of them seem like the best deck at all right now. Now, obviously, a tap land is a lot worse than an untapped land, so there's something to consider there. But my second reason would be that Mox Opal no longer exists in Modern. When Mox Opal existed in Modern, I absolutely would have said keep these lands out of Modern. Absolutely not. But with cards like Mox Opal not existing, I think that makes them much more reasonable. And I'll even throw a third reason in here. My third reason would be like artifact hate cards like Stony Silence or Kataki are just that much more devastating. If artifact decks are just playing all of these lands and just have no other lands, it means that Stony or Kataki almost like win the game automatically or close to it because they just make them sack all their lands. So I actually think maybe they could. Yeah, I'm going to go yes. We could reintroduce these into Modern, and they would be okay and would not lead to broken nonsense.
Duy?
Yeah, so I mean, what reason? The reasons that Steven laid out, I think, are very, very much in line with my thought as well. The one thing I'll add to that is it depends on where they're really thinking for the artifacts, because they pushed artifacts quite a bit. I think they added a just an absolute ton of content for them to be able to pull from. So I would say that I also agree. I think yes. I think you could unban it to test it out right now. And I think that has the caveat, though, of it depends on where Wizards is planning to go and if they plan on pushing artifacts even more. Because if they are, then the answer would be no. Because if they're planning on making like the Metalcraft stuff and more affinity cards more and more available, then that's going to be hard to know. But as of right now, I think I don't know. And the awkward part, too, is, though, Modern's in a really healthy point. Is the thing, so it's like a teetering point that like if you do too much to it and release too much, but yeah, overall, I would rather unban it and test this, see where it's gonna go, than not.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me with these artifact lands is I played them in Legacy. At least I played the blue one in Legacy. Saga's pretty good with these cards. And the fact that they come in untapped makes them a little bit more powerful. And we also got to take into account, like, Urza's a messed up card, like, if we give it any more tools. And those are kind of things that just scare me with it. I don't think Affinity will ever get too busted. Like, don't get wrong, it'd be really good.
Affinity's only going to get strong again if they have another Mox-like effect. They need that to power out a turn earlier. And you can tell because right now it's fringing around the tier 1.5, tier 2 style decks, and people are just playing all these other variants of it because it's just not good enough by itself.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, I think I'm still going to be on the no side of things, only because I've seen how Ursula will warp a format pretty well. And so I try to avoid any of the artifact stuff, which we'll be getting into some more artifacts a little bit later in this.
All right.
Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to group a couple cards together. We're going to group a Kroom's Astrolabe and Deathrite Shaman together, and we're going to talk about them both at the same time. Since they get compared to each other all the time, I figure it's the best call.
People compare Astrolabe and Deathrite together?
Yeah.
The mana fixing.
God, that's... Okay.
I agree. I put them in a different bin.
Yeah, that's I don't agree with those people, but that's fine. We'll put them in that category regardless.
Yeah. We're going to talk about them both, obviously, but... Let's go ahead and we'll start with Duy this time.
So very different thoughts on both these cards. I'm a huge fan of Astrolabe. I played that card from the point that it was existed to the point that it was banned. And I do think it is too strong for the format still. It allowed you to just mana fix so efficiently. And I want it. I mean, I want that card back. But it allowed every deck to just mana fix so well with no downsides. And it allowed the artifacts decks to have that extra leg up and not feel anything about it. So, yeah, I think that card is just too strong. Deathrite Shaman, same thing. I think that card is really strong. It's so efficient. And then one of the most detrimental things about that card is it shuts down an entire section or entire type of playstyle. Like graveyard decks kind of just disappear when that card exists, right? Like nobody can play them because if you're trying to use anything in the graveyard, I just have this guy that can sit here and just keep exiling things from the graveyard and at no cost to me, and it punishes you. So
that's fair. Steven, thoughts?
So I hate Arkham's Astrolabe. I think Astrolabe was a just disgustingly designed card for a lot of reasons. But Duy touched on them. I mean, the fact just that any deck can just play this 1-mana colorless card and just play snow basics rather than regular basics, which people always joked around about how basically with Astrolabe existing, like basic lands were banned because snow lands were just almost always strictly better to play in your deck. And there are other reasons for that, too, that people have that theory. But Astrolabe was a big reason. But the fact that it's just this colorless thing that just lets any deck just have, like, perfect fixing, I hated it. I hated the design of it. I definitely get where Dewey's coming from. He played it a lot. He liked it. I mean, I liked playing with it in Urza decks, too. But just like Dewey said, it's too good for Modern. And I'm going to say that it was just a horribly designed card. It's just not a reasonable Magic card. It doesn't make sense the way it is, and it just shouldn't exist. Which is why I think in almost every format that it was legal, it's been banned now, right? I'm pretty sure. I think it was legal in Pauper, right? It got banned there. If I'm correct, it was legal in Legacy. It got banned there. It's just a horrible Magic card. I mean, it's just stupid. It's not how Magic is supposed to work. Every deck is not supposed to just be able to theoretically play every color, which is kind of what Astrolabe gives you the possibility to do. So it's just an awful Magic card. It makes me sick.
I think the only format that you can still play it in is Vintage or Commander.
Yeah. Anyway, hate that card. That's about it for me there. Deathrite Shaman, I actually think is kind of interesting for a few reasons. Deathrite Shaman is obviously like one of the best creatures ever printed. I don't think, and many people would argue that it's an incredibly efficient, strong, powerful card. And it gives you so much utility. It lets you do so many things. Amazing card. But what's interesting to me about Deathrite Shaman is comparing it to cards like Dragon Rage Channeler and specifically Ragavan as well. I think Dragon Rage Channeler and Ragavan are both very, very close on power level to Deathrite Shaman for what they do to a game, and I actually think Ragavan is even more comparable to Deathrite than Dragon Rage Channeler, for the sole fact that in games where you play a Deathrite Shaman on turn 1, or you especially if you're on the play with a Deathrite Shaman on turn 1, or if you play a Ragavan on turn 1, I think they both do a really similar thing to the game in the sense that you must immediately kill it. And if you do not kill it on turn 1, your opponent is going to be playing a 3-drop if they would like on turn 3. And in the case of Ragavan, he might even be casting cards off your deck and providing card advantage in that way. So both of them do a fairly similar thing. They both obviously have some upsides and downsides. What's also kind of interesting, Dewey talked about how Deathrite Shaman kind of nerfed graveyard strategies. It definitely did. We now have cards like Duy Vu Voidwalker, which do a similar effect. Obviously, doesn't have as much utility, but I actually think Deathrite Shaman is like I would be curious. I didn't play a ton of Modern when it was legal, which may be obvious. I may be missing just how busted this card is, but I do think that Ragavan and Shaman are actually fairly comparable cards in power level and what they're going to do to a game of Magic. They just must immediately die, and if they don't, they're going to provide mana advantage. And in Deathrite Shaman's case, it can provide life buffering. It can provide damage to your opponent, and it doesn't have to attack, which is big upside, but it does have to use mana. Whereas obviously Ragavan can just attack to generate the mana and things of that nature. So anyway, I actually think the cards are really comparable, and I'm in an article I wrote recently about the black-red Modern deck that I was playing. I talked about that a little bit, how Deathrite Shaman and Ragavan are actually kind of comparable. So I'm actually going to go yes. We could put Deathrite Shaman in Modern because it is so comparable to Ragavan. And I would be interested to see what would happen with it. So I'm going to go yes on this one. Yes, it could come back to Deathrite Shaman, and an absolute hell no to Arkham's Astrolabe. Card shouldn't have ever existed. So that's where my votes are at with those two cards.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to say, I actually didn't find Astrolabe that big of a deal in the format, personally. I do think that the card could have taken the card draw off of it. That was kind of silly because that card drew a card, right? Yeah, that's why it's been a little bit since I played against. I can't tell you the last time I played against the card. Yeah, the card draw so it replaced itself was kind of annoying, but other than that, I never really found it as that big of a deal. At least me personally. So I personally was I was more caught off guard because I really didn't even think it was ban worthy at the time that it was banned. I felt like there was other things that should have been higher on the list at the time. But obviously they went with the Astrolabe instead of some of the other things, which I thought they should have hit. Deathrite Shaman, though, I've never actually played with this card. Outside of some EDH games, and that's not really a good way to value a card because obviously EDH is going to be way different than a constructed format like Modern. So the thing about Deathrite is it's a little bit different. It's different than Astrolabe with the mana filter ability because you do have to wait a turn to be able to pull something like that off. It isn't like it immediately gets to do its thing. I do like the comparison between Ragavan and Deathrite. I actually think Ragavan's more busted than a Deathrite Shaman would be in Modern.
I disagree.
I do not. I think Ragavan being able to do its thing initially on turn 2, compared to what you could do with a Deathrite on turn 2 if you don't get it out immediately, is way different. Where Ragavan has the option layer game to immediately do its thing, where Deathrite doesn't. That's
true
why
too.
that is the power of why I put Ragavan a little bit higher.
Okay.
I don't think it's a large margin, but I do put Ragavan higher because it has that ability to do that.
Right.
Deathrite, on the other hand, could help with the Loris decks that's running around the format because it would actually have a little bit of hate for it.
Oh, yeah.
But because being able to fit, it's the same problem with Astrolabe. If the big issue with Astrolabe was letting decks be able to filter mana so efficiently for one mana card, and then being able to filter for any color they want throughout the game, then Deathrite has to. I think Deathrite can't come off if Astrolabe stays on. I think they either have to both come off or both stay on.
So the one thing I'll add to that is, yeah, you're right. Not only did Deathrite Shaman filter your mana, but it also ramped you, which was a big deal.
More mana, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a huge factor to it. And the reason I think Ragavan's less of an offender than Deathrite here is, although you're very right, Steven, it's a must answer. No matter what. If someone drops a Deathrite, someone drops a Ragavan, if you don't kill that, you are so far behind.
Yep.
Deathrite does not have to attack, as you pointed out. And the additional ability for you to just throw something in front of the Ragavan,
Yep.
that's the only reason I'm more okay with Ragavan. Now, Ragavan's high up on my list of a card of like, I would watch the crap out of that card.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's the only reason why I think, for me, it pushes the Deathrite over, is that not needing to.
Yeah, I think it's really, really close.
I agree.
I think, yeah, I would honestly just like say they're about even. I think they're both just
for different reasons. They're both up there, and they're both pushed real hard.
They do it. They definitely do like a different thing, but it's similar in just what they warp a game. They both just completely warp a game of Magic, and the game just completely becomes about that creature immediately. Much more so, in my opinion, than a DRC. Like you can play a game of Magic and let a Dragon Rage Channeler live for 2 or 3 turns, and you'll be okay in a lot of positions. But I mean, if you do not answer the Ragavan, if you do not answer the Deathrite for 2 to 3 turns, good luck. I mean, it is going to be a disaster for literally almost any archetype to try and beat a Ragavan hitting them, or a Deathrite Shaman sitting there and ramping or attacking your yard for life or damage. They're both great cards. They both warp a game. But I think they're really comparable.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I definitely didn't put into that consideration would be Ragavan's mana can just sit there and build, and that's huge too, obviously.
Yep, exactly. Yep. I mean, just Petal every time you connect. I mean, Lotus Petal is a playable card all on its own. I mean, so obviously getting Lotus Petals is super relevant and good. And yeah, I tell you one thing, I'm glad that Ragavan and Deathrite don't exist alongside each other in Lurrus decks, because that would be just disgusting. Ragavan and Deathrite being able to ramp into Lurrus while also fighting other Lurrus decks would just be so stupid, man.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be really, really dumb.
Talk about a headache waiting to happen.
Oh my god, man.
Now, we're talking a lot about creatures. Let's talk about a couple like creature tutors in a way. And I have a couple offhand. First one being Birthing Pod, and then along with that, we're going to talk about Green Sun Zenith as well. Okay. So I'll let Steven start this one. Let's talk about Birthing Pod and Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, so I have a feeling I know what Dewey's answer is going to be for this one as well, and that it's going to be pretty similar. But I'll start with Birthing Pod. I think this card should definitely be put back into Modern, but I'm very biased. I really like this card a lot. I like the design of Birthing Pod. I think it's really interesting. I will say, the Phyrexian mana is horrible and was always horrible for the game itself. Just like I complained about Astrolabe earlier, it's a very poorly designed Magic card. Phyrexian mana was a really poorly designed mechanic, if you will, or just how it works. It's garbage that like any deck can play. Just 1 mana, lose 4 life, neg 5 a thing. Like that's a very black ability. Like that's what black cards do in Magic, and obviously the card is black, but anybody can play it. You see Tron play Dismember. They're a colorless and green deck. You say E-Tron play Dismember. They're a colorless deck. Decks like this really should not be able to play that card. When I played D&T back in the day, I played Dismembers in my sideboard because my mono white deck wanted some hard removal that was not Path to Exile. It's just, and we'll come across some even other cards on the ban list here that also had Phyrexian mana in their cost. It's just not good. It wasn't a good mechanic. It doesn't really make sense. It breaks color pie. It just doesn't do what Magic cards are supposed to do. So that part of the card is unfortunate, and is part of the reason it's on the ban list. But the card, like what Birthing Pod does, is just so unique and so interesting, and leads to really, really cool deck designs and gives you a lot of decisions in a game. And I will say, I'm also biased because I really love playing these like dirtily creature-based decks, which, again, I've been writing some articles about playing Elementals lately. I love that deck. And part of the reason I love that deck is it's just like, it's a creature value deck. You get to make a ton of decisions. I enjoy games that involve me getting to just make an absurd amount of decisions, because I think that's fun. That's what I enjoy about Magic. So I'm definitely biased in favor of Birthing Pod. But what it does, I mean, it's just cool. It's a cool card. And I think now there have been enough cards introduced into the format and there are enough ways to combat it that I think it would be reasonable. I could be wrong. But a lot of reason, they said they banned Birthing Pod, which, would still hold true now. It's just that it restricts the types of creatures that they can print. And obviously it could lead to them missing like infinite combos and things like that they don't mean to introduce into the format, things like that, and make them easier to find and all that. But I don't know. I think it's a really interesting card. I think it's a fun card. Whenever I do a cube, I'm always trying to draft Birthing Pod decks. If I can get one early, like in the Vintage Cube, I'll draft Birthing Pod, even though it's not the best thing, just because I want to play with Birthing Pod. Excuse me. But it's a really sweet card, and I think they're like Kalagan's Command didn't exist. I don't think when Birthing Pod got banned, that would be a really good way to fight Birthing Pod because it killed the mana dorks that Birthing Pod decks play while also blowing up Pod. And kill other things as well, obviously. But I don't know. I'm going to say yes, that one could come back into the format. And then in the case of Green Sun Zenith, again, this is one I never got a chance to really play with in Modern. I've seen how it's obviously really insane in Legacy. The Green Sun Zenith being able to tutor up Dryad Arbor is like complete nonsense and really, really powerful. So Green Sun Zenith might still just be too good, and the fact that it continually shuffles itself into your deck, so it like never actually goes away either. I'll say Green Sun Zenith is still too good. And I know how potentially insane that card would be in like an Elves archetype or something like that. So I'm going to say no to Green Sun Zenith. I don't have nearly as much to say, obviously, about Birthing Pod. I'm much more passionate about that one. Green Sun Zenith is probably a little bit too good. So I'm going to say no, don't bring Green Sun Zenith back. But yes to Birthing Pod. I think that one could be passable.
Duy?
Yeah, so as Steven alluded to, I'm very biased to Birthing Pod. I played that card from the moment that it was available to the moment that it was banned as well. And I played tons of different versions of that deck because that's what it allowed for you to do. But the thing that was really interesting to me about that is it opened up so many fun paths that Steven talked about. And I absolutely hated the reasoning for the banning. I don't like, I do not like preemptive bans like that unless it's very, very visible. If a card comes out and it becomes so absurd they miss it and it causes a format to be warped heavily, then ban it at that point. It's so weird to me that they have such a wait and see approach on everything else, right? Like when we were going through Hogak Summer, they did test bans basically for an entire quarter, waiting to see if that was good enough. And, a lot of other times where decks become the number one deck, they go, it's fine. We need to let things play out naturally to see if it's an issue. Players adapt. And, we do. We adjust appropriately. Cards that were super popular the first couple weeks of a release becomes, Asmo's barely a deck nowadays. And it was the number one deck. So, yeah, I do 100% think Birthing Pod should be unbanned. And it should be a test unban, realistically, to see if it was incorrect or was correct to ban it originally, to see where it's gonna go from there. And I just want to play those decks, but yeah, I do definitely think this case. So Steven did talk about you being able to fetch up that Dryad Arbor every single time on turn one. Now this does something that I don't like, and it's an issue with me and some of the things with Legacy. I hate homogenizing decks so heavily. Like if you're in Legacy and you're playing blue, you pretty much have to play Brainstorm, right? Like that's a requirement. You're going to build a 60-card deck, but the first 4 slots are already taken up, right? This will become, if you unban Green Sun, if you are playing a green deck, guaranteed your first 5 slots are 4 Green Suns, Dryad Arbor.
Yep.
Period. So I hate that because that's gonna just make a format awful to play. That happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the first bannings that they did was they got rid of all these cards that everybody was playing. Your first like 10 or 15 cards of your deck was already decided for you. There was no decisions really happening. So that is one of the big reasons why I do not want Green Sun to be unbanned. It is just awful for play design and for players and for the format. So
yeah, and imagine this. We can play that in Bant decks and instant speed it by plussing to Fairy, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all kinds of bad stuff.
Sounds like a good time. But no, to just touch it briefly, with Birthing Pod, see, I don't have to be biased because I've never played the card, so I could be the most unbiased like person here for it because I've never got to play it. I will say I would keep it on because it does restrict their creative design when they're designing creatures. And that's the main reason I keep it on there is because I don't want them to have to restrict what they're going to create because of one card in the format. And sorry, go ahead.
So the only thing I have with that then that's a problem is it's obviously not a true statement, right? They continue to make other cards that are pod-like effects over and over and over. They just did it with an artifact, right? That you are now able to fetch up artifacts like that. You can do it with enchantments, and they can do it with creatures as well. They are doing it over and over and over again.
But are all of those colorless to play?
I don't believe so.
This one can be in any deck too if it wants to be.
But it wasn't in every deck. That's my thing.
But would it be right now? Is
I don't
what
know.
we come down to?
I mean,
I don't.
The fact that it has
I don't believe it would.
No, I don't think so.
The fact that it has the option, because Phyrexian Mana is so fucked up.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, that's what I was saying in my whole spiel. Awful. And it's terrible.
If this was 3 and a green, I would be 100% on board. Bring it back because a lot of them cost 2 mana. This is 1 mana to activate.
Yeah.
Let's be real. This is 1 mana.
Here's what they should really do. They should stop screwing around and giving us all these like terrible birthing pods because that's what the last like 4 have been. They've just been awful, insultingly bad birthing pods that aren't even like close to how good birthing pod actually was. They should literally reprint the card the same with no Phyrexian Mana on it and just name it something else. It would still be birthing pod, but it would just be 3 and a green and 1 and a green to activate and see how it would work. Just do that.
See, I'd be okay with that.
Just give it a try. Maybe it'd still be busted. Maybe it wouldn't. I'm pretty sure it would not be busted at 4 mana and then 2 mana to activate every time. I'm not even sure if it would be playable. But it would, be obviously the closest thing. And then instead of giving us all this silly crap that they like Vanifar, as a creature. So it's so easy to kill it and interact with it and things like that.
Honestly, I think I agree that it can be reprinted and it can be green and 3 colorless. I don't know if you need to have 2 for the activation. It should probably be 1 or 0, and I think it's probably should be 1. The reason being is like Prime Speaker obviously was a creature, and so it couldn't be activated the turn it was played, which is a huge downside. And then it's a creature; it can die. So obviously those are big drawbacks. But I think 1 green, 3 colorless, and 1 colorless to activate probably fixes it. Or even going something along the lines of heavier, like double green colorless, and then green to activate or something.
Yeah, I like green to activate. I don't like colorless. Green to activate seems fine, though.
Yeah.
I will say, if they ever unban Birthing Pod, Yawgmoth would be so fucked up.
I mean...
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it would be a Yawgmoth Malira-esque pile or something like that you'd be playing, or not. There's some iterations of that, or you'd be playing something with the Druid version of the deck, and you'd be playing that and testing around with all that good stuff.
There would be different versions of elementals that now would actually be okay with playing Voice of Resurgence, because you could pod Voice into Risen Reef, and then pod Reef into Omnath.
And then you can have a Risen Reef in play, pod away like a bird or something, get a Phantasmal Image, copy Risen Reef, get double draw effects, then pod that away, go get a 4-drop, go get, I don't know.
Omnath.
Yeah, Omnath, do good stuff, like just really good, awesome things.
Yeah.
In addition to Birthing Pod, I'm on the same boat. I don't want to have every green deck being 4 or 5 slots taken up every time.
Yep. Very boring. Very boring, not interesting, not fun.
Not interested in that. To move things along, though, let's talk about Blazing Show.
No.
Just no. Just
No.
just no. Well, hold on. Let's hear this out. Well, Dewey, you get to start this one.
Okay. The card is just too good. I don't know. We have a force-like effect now, right? So there's a potential that it comes back, but that card was just killing people on turn 2 for an entire tournament. I don't know. I don't think you want to go back to that. That we don't have enough answers in modern. We're getting a lot more answers, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I think that's definitely something that can be looked at later on once we get more answers, because they're obviously pushing the envelope and giving us a lot more access to cards right now, as was evident in the last set. But right now, I just don't think so.
Steven?
Yeah, I agree with Dewey. This crap was too good. Turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2 kill you. No, thank you. A very consistent turn 2 kill you. I mean, all they need is this. And didn't they? I know, obviously,
ask,
they
what
were
were the red cards they were playing?
Progenitus. They pitched Progenitus,
okay.
and I think they had a way to find Progenitus as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
you
was
can
my
you
question.
can you can pay pact for it, right?
Oh, right. Yep. You were pat. Yeah. So they basically had like 5 or 6 copies of Progenitus in their deck.
Okay.
Because of Pact. Yeah,
Yeah.
Summoner's Pact.
That was my question. I didn't know how they were actually killing.
Yeah,
it.
I knew there were ways to find it that they were playing, because but it was a pretty consistent turn 2. Yeah, I mean, I am never for turn 2 kills in modern. No, thank you. If it's consistent, absolutely not. If it's like really inconsistent, maybe. I still don't like it, but at least I can stomach it if it only happens like 15% of the time or less, and the decks are terrible usually. But
Yeah,
no, if that's consistent, that's very bad Magic. It's very not fun Magic. Way more not fun than anything else we've talked about thus far. And I'm not even like remotely interested in that. A lot of the reason I enjoy Modern so much right now is there are real games being played a majority of the time, which is good. That's good for the game. That's in my opinion how it should work. And that's the kind of Magic that I enjoy and want to take part in, and not this like oops turn 2 I win nonsense. And
yeah, I got an old list of it pulled up, and it was a blue-red pile.
Yep.
Blighted Agent, Inkmoth were the killers. You had 1 Progenitus. You had 4 Shoals of the red variety that we're talking about. You also played 3 blue Shoals. You played 4 Dragonstorm, so you can pitch that. You had Jit Probes, Muddle the Mixture, so you can find the stuff that you're looking for. You're playing Packs, so you can stop them from interacting with you. And then you were digging with Peer, Ponder, Preordain. And then you had a little bit of interaction with Spell Pierces as well, and Snapback, so they can't mess around with you or get in your way. And then
this deck is just completely busted. Yeah. Multiple cards on the ban list in this deck.
Well, I mean, that's the problem we had. We had Ponder, we had Preordain, we had the most efficient cantrips possible. It was going off way too consistently.
Yep, that's the nature of the beast, right? And so you both are on the don't unban it.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely on the don't unban it train. Yep.
Yeah, based on the deck list and stuff you guys are talking about and what it was doing, I'm down to keep it off the ban list. It probably doesn't open up the door for anything beneficial, so I'm good with that.
Yep.
The next one, Bridge from Below. Dewey, you start this one?
So this got banned because of the Hogak, and it was a temp. I felt like it was a test ban to see if it was good enough to stop the Hogak deck. So that
made Hogak better.
Well, they just found a different iteration of it, right? It's very interesting to me with these kind of cards, because when these kind of bans happen, that was a result of another card. Is it correct to unban the original card that you did as a test ban? So, in my mind, I think you could play around with it. I would not be opposed to them doing it, because I hate feeler bans. A lot of times, unless it's a proper ban that neuters the deck just enough to bring it down to a proper power level and keeps everything else fine.
Like a card we're gonna be talking about later called Mox Opal. Steven, thoughts on Bridge from Below?
Yeah, so Bridge from Below is an interesting card for sure. I definitely agree with Dewey. I think the fact that it was kind of like more like an explorative ban, like, hey, we'll just stop Hogak, and then obviously the iteration changed. It was still insane. Then they had to ban Hogak, obviously. I think you probably take it off. It has it's a really weird card, right? It does nothing other than being like, it has to be in your graveyard to do anything. The card basically just has absolutely zero text anywhere other than in your graveyard. It's a very strange Magic card.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Bridge from Below is a much, much better design than Arkham's Astrolabe. I mean, and Phyrexian Mana. I mean, it has a purpose.
Mhm.
Its purpose is obviously graveyard decks. That is like part of Magic. The other stuff we've talked about just like completely breaks how the game's supposed to work. But Bridge doesn't necessarily do that. It's just, it's strange, but I think it fits, and it's like a somewhat reasonable card. So yeah, I think this one could be taken off for sure. I mean, no, it doesn't really do anything quote unquote fair, but that's not really what it's supposed like. It's
There's
supposed
a
to be
lot of
like a
more
graveyard,
cards that don't do fair
right?
stuff.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I think this one's fine to take off the ban list, and if something ended up being crazy busted, they could change it later. But I mean, we do have plenty, like we have more hate pieces in Modern for the graveyard now than we used to with Dolphy, Voidwalker. So yeah, I think this one should probably be off.
Funny enough, I don't actually think Bridge from Below should have ever been on the ban list. I think it was them trying to protect their current set Mythic in Hogak. Let's just look at it, like when it got banned, Hogak was the only deck that was being played in, because Dredge didn't play Bridge from Below. So it literally died for Hogak sins.
Yep. 100%.
100%. The deck that would pick it up right now would be like the Vengevine decks. That's obvious. I think Vengevine would pick it up. But I don't think it would be busted enough where it would be like Hogak level. I think Vengevine would get actually like better than where they're at currently, because I don't think Vengevine is a very good deck at all. Bridge Below can give them that little extra push to get them up a little rank, probably up maybe just like either half a point or maybe a point, full point. Because right now they're like at a tier 5 point status. I think that Bridge Below might be able to get them even up to a tier 3 status. I still don't think they'd be like anywhere close to the tier 1 decks. And Dredge still wouldn't play the card. 100% wouldn't even touch it. But I do think it would be the Vengevine decks that would mess around with Bridge from Below if anybody did. Unless there's a secret like busted graveyard deck that we don't know about, that they're just missing a Bridge from Below, the being able to like hit the road. I just don't see it being like super busted where it should even be on the list.
Right.
Chromox. This is an interesting one right here. We'll also talk about Mox Opal, since they're both like fast mana.
Yeah, they're somewhat
Chromox is a little bit different because Chromox actually takes down a card out your hand to be able to pull off. It's still obviously really good. I'm not trying to like defend it by any means. But Steven, go ahead and give us some thoughts on the Chromox.
I hate both these cards. Keep them on the ban list. I mean, fast mana, dude, it's just so good. So good. And in decks where it's broken, it's just so broken that it's just like, I don't even want to think about it. But like the Chromox, like I've never even seen that one in Modern. Obviously, was this on the initial Modern ban?
It was on the initial ban.
Okay, so this card obviously just like completely like fuels archetypes in Legacy, and it would do the same thing in Modern. It's incredibly good. I've pretty much always been on the like fast mana, like, get rid of it. Simeon's Spirit Guide was one of those cards. Always hated that one. Mox Opal, not a fan of that one either. Chromox is right there as well. At least this one like is like card disadvantage kind of, but like the advantage you get from fast mana is just so strong that it's so good. Imagine just imagine Rhinos having 4 Chrome Mox in their deck.
Yeah.
Like, they would just turn to you, so much more. It would be fairly consistent.
Rhinos would not play this card, bro.
Why? Oh, it's a 0-drop. You're right. They'd be playing Simian Spirit Guide. But, yeah, so Chrome Mox in that deck would not do anything. You're right. But either way, there would be decks for to be really busted.
Oh, yeah, we'll throw Simian Spirit Guide in this conversation, too, because they're essentially all the same.
Yeah, exactly. They all do the fast mana thing. So, yeah, imagine Rhinos with Simian Spirit Guide, and it's not very hard to imagine that because people, I guess, are already kind of trying that, screwing around with that in Legacy.
Oh, yeah, we learned.
Yeah, we learned it. I'd seen posts of it on Twitter, so I already kind of knew about it. But, yeah, you have what? You have 8 Spirit Guides in that format. So, turn 2 Rhinoing is pretty darn good. So, yeah. But anyway, fast mana is just very degenerate. And it fuels really, really busted things. We talked about how Bridge from Below died for the sins of Hogak. I feel the same way about Quark Clan Ironworks on this list with Mox Opal. I feel like Ironworks is like a definitely a really strong card, and it did like busted things too. But I feel like Ironworks without Opal in that deck, like that deck may have been like actually combatable, but the fact that it had just had such fast explosive starts was just like so problematic. And then how good Opal was with Scrap Trawler too. I mean, it was just disgusting. So anyway, fast mana just in general doesn't lead to fun and exciting games in my opinion. So I'm and any of these cards I'm going to say absolutely not. Don't put them in Modern, please. They're like whatever in Legacy, but that's not where I really want Modern to be. So I'm going to just quickly say no to all of them. Fast mana is insane. No thank you. On to Dewey.
Oh, yeah, I have a similar thought on that because, and this is coming from the guy that loves Mox Opal, obviously. I had the stance that if you have fast mana in the format, then fast mana is okay. If you don't want fast mana in the format, you should ban it all. And I didn't want fast mana in the format because it led to these bad games where you just felt like you never had a shot. And for the longest time, I hate any decks that pretty much use Simian Spirit Guide as well.
Yeah.
It was just pitch mana. You can do whatever you want with it. So I was bothered by it. So yeah, for me, Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, and Simian Spirit Guide all should stay banned. They're giving us stuff to play around with, like some pseudo. Like I don't mind when fast mana has a lot of restrictions to it. Right. Like Eldrazi Temple, for example. Right. I'm okay with that because you have to specifically use it.
Yeah, exactly. There's one thing that I didn't mention that I feel like we definitely should mention. All of this fast mana stuff with I guess Simian Spirit Guide doesn't really get kept in check by this, but if they were to give every color a removal spell like Prismatic Ending, then maybe you could have a card like you could say that Chrome Mox and Mox Opal and cards like that are acceptable. Because if every deck just has like a 1 mana catch all removal spell that can catch like anything, which is pretty much what Prismatic Ending ends up being.
Right.
That would let you deal with these cards, then sure. But then at that point, the format becomes kind of wild and probably a little ridiculous. Like Ending is arguably like the best removal spell ever. Like it is that good. That is how good that card is. And so, you can't, saying give that to every color is like kind of absurd. Magic would just be like way different if every single color just like for 1 mana, like at that point where, I was complaining about Phyrexian mana earlier, then you could like argue that also would be ridiculous because again, you're like breaking color pie. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't like that approach at all.
Exactly. But I feel like that is what I think they would have to do to make fast mana acceptable in Modern. Like it's to like let every color have really absurdly good answers to those cards.
Yeah.
Agreed. The thing with both of those cards is, so I was sad how Opal was gone because it removed Affinity pretty much from Modern.
Right.
And it just recently with Urza Sagas when Infinity started to get a little bit of play. At the same time, I've been an advocate for many years now. I think free spells and fast mana are both bad for modern. Hence why I think Manamorphose should have already been on this list. But that's a discussion for another day.
I agree with you.
But I do think these both stay on. I don't think there's anything. I don't want to see any Chrome Mox anytime soon. And Opal could stay because then just another card that could unlock Urza from being like too good. Moving on though, where are we at on here? Let's talk about some Cloud Post.
Good old Cloud Post.
Yep. Go ahead, Dewey. You could kick it off.
This is a card that I'm very interested in. Being unbanned. And the reason being is that, it's kind of like another version of what Tron does, right? Tron goes 1/1/1, and all of a sudden you've got 9 mana. This one, because it's coming into play tapped, it's doing the 1, but then it's 2 because if you have another one, and then all of a sudden you have 6 mana, and then all of a sudden you have way more. So it escalates so much further. So I don't know. I don't think, but we have we have access to so much mana nowadays that like, if we really wanted to, and no one seems to really even care about it. So I don't know. I feel like this is one that I would be okay with unbanning and trying out. I know that it was a part of not the initial ban, but the one right after that happened in September, after the first GP, and it's such a different landscape now. There's so much land hate that we have access to, and interaction. So I don't know. I'd kind of be okay with it because this is a card that if you hit this, blew it up, and exiled all copies of it, that deck gets real weak, like ridiculously weak, right? Like they have no Cloud Post in play, so all the other crappy versions of Cloud Post or the Vesuvas are just doing nothing in their deck. So
yeah, the only I feel like one of the places where this card would maybe be playable is definitely an Amulet. I'm very afraid of Cloud Post.
I was thinking that because right whenever I see a land that says
whenever a land enters
tapped,
you're just like, oh god, what can Amulet of Vigor do with this?
Right.
But I don't know. After playing Amulet this weekend, you definitely it is hard to play through Blood Moons and Alpine Moons and all this stuff. Like even when you have a lot of answers to it, it's definitely difficult. I don't know. I'll go with you, Dewey. I'll say yes. We could take it off, and just kind of see what happens. I feel like it could definitely be busted as sin in in Amulet, but why not? Maybe give it a try. And it would definitely their mana base is all somewhat awkward in spots, so it would get more awkward. Obviously, like way more awkward. It would just be a whole new iteration of Amulet, but.
Yeah, I don't even like the first version of this deck played Primeval Titans, but they didn't play that kind of style. They just wanted to go find lands and put it into play.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna
like they were playing Sylvan Scrying, Explorers, Reap and Sows, Rites of Flourishing. They're playing anything they could have just put lands in play so they can cast Titan to go get things to cast Emrakul.
That's fair.
Okay.
My opinion, if Tron lands could be legal, so can this.
Yep, makes sense.
Quickly moving on. Let's talk about Dark Depths. This card's a very staple deck, a base around card in a deck in Legacy. A couple different decks. You have Turbo Depths, you have lands, you just have regular depths. There's multiple decks that Legacy abuses this card. We have a lot of cards that can do the same thing in our format. And I don't know correct me if I'm correct. Is there a way to turn 2 with Dark Depths in Modern?
Hex Mage.
Yeah, you do Hex Mage and Urborg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For that reason, I'll get started on this one. I talked about hating turn 2 or just very quick kills earlier. So I would say no to this. I'm not interested in getting Vampire, Hex Mage, Dark Depths when I have one land in play. And if I'm not playing a Solitude or Path deck, I'm almost screwed. Very disinterested in that.
Super screwed.
Yeah, just very, very disinterested all around.
You need to give your Darcy flying like now.
Yeah, but then it has to attack and just
no,
suicide into
you
it.
give it in second.
Oh,
main
sure,
phase.
sure. You're saying you give it flying to like block, like chump block the turn. Yeah.
Chump block so you could find an answer.
And then you play a Murktide, which also has to chump block and still loses by like 13.
Oh god.
And it is indestructible too. So yeah, you know, just hope you have the like one of main deck Brazen Borrower or you die. I guess you know what would be sweet though? Archmage is charming a frickin' Merit Liege would be gasoline. Yeah. Thank you for your Merit Liege. I will kill you with this now.
So that means it should be legal.
No. No, it does not.
Dude, what's your thoughts on it? I think me and Steven are both on the hell no train.
I am on no, but there's a caveat. Once again, I think this is a card that you could look at and watch. We're getting more and more answers. We're getting more and more cards that are available to us. It's something that you could go, hey, once there's enough answers, is this card still relevant? If it's not that relevant, not that ridiculously overpowering, yeah, maybe unban it. But for now, no, I don't think you want this in the format.
Yep, I think we're on that same page. I think it's just too much going on. Let's go on. The next cards we're going to talk about is Dig Through Time and its little partner in crime, Treasure Cruise. So, Dewey, go ahead and kick it off.
I think, did you guys play during this time, right?
Oh, yeah.
With Treasure Cruise? Okay.
Yeah,
so, like,
time.
It was a good time. Everybody was playing Treasure Cruise, but they weren't paying attention to the fact that Dig Through Time was just a better version of it, but it cost 1 mana more, and often they're like, oh, no, it's too good. I don't know. I don't want it in the format. Neither of them. They're just too strong of a draw engine. And once again, I think it just pushes a lot of decks into like a singular direction. Mm-hmm. And I really would be afraid to see what the Ragavan Murktide piles would look like with those cards. So
they wouldn't play them. It's cool. No.
What?
Yeah, they wouldn't play them. It's cool. Just don't think about it. They would not play these cards. They don't like drawing cards in those decks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Steven, what's your thoughts?
I definitely agree. These cards are just ridiculous, both of them. Yeah, obviously, Dig Through Time, like the selection makes it like more powerful or whatever than Treasure Cruise. Specifically in like combo decks is where Dig Through Time is so busted. It's where it's been busted every time, pretty much. It was busted in Inverter, combo deck. It was busted in Lotus Breach, combo deck. It was busted in Scape Shift, combo deck. Am I missing anything? Those are the three that jump out to me that I think of Dig Through Time. There might be more.
No, I think that's it for me too.
Those are the ones where it was like busted, right? Like super busted. And then in control decks, like in Torrential Gearhulk piles and Pioneer, it was like it wasn't busted there. It was just like a good card. I played Dig Through Time in Standard in a control deck, like a blue-black control deck. But honestly, in a lot of spots, it wasn't even better than Jace's Ingenuity, just because in control decks, you like always want to hit your land drops. So just the card quantity almost is equally as good as the selection on Dig Through Time. But that kind of goes into why Treasure Cruise was so absolutely ridiculous, being in like every single deck, is because it's so easily splashable. It's 1 blue, and then obviously 7 colorless, but Delve. So like every deck could play this. Like Burn was playing Treasure Cruise, just burn people's faces with like 5 burn spells, then draw 3, then burn them some more. There was like an Abzan Siege Rhino Treasure Cruise deck that was just like hand hate spells, mana guys, you know, just classic Abzan midrange, and then just splash blue because Treasure Cruise exists. We talked about like monotony earlier. I mean, Treasure Cruise would be almost in every single deck, like literally every single deck, because it's just so easy to splash. All the like Luris decks would even play it, for God's sakes. Like you have fetches, you have like you'd fill up your graveyard really fast. Yes, you would like get rid of Darcy's Delirium for like a turn, but then you would just fuel up again because you just drew 3 cards and you triggered Darcy with the cruise on the stack. I mean, it would be so miserably bad, just so terrible. I'm not even kind of interested in introducing either of these cards into Modern at all. Neither of them are even legal in Legacy, are they? Aren't they both banned there too? I mean, they're just so busted. I mean, what they do is just they're both just like way too good. So, yeah.
Yep, I agree.
And as a confirmation, they are both banned in Legacy.
Yeah, they are. Oh, I know that for sure. No, these cards are busted. Dig Through Time just like is another card that just like enables combo too well. Being able to look at 7 cards to be able to find some combo pieces. I was playing it in Green Light Scape Shift.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that was where it was like that was where it was really good in Modern. That was like the deck.
Yep.
Made it playable in Modern. I don't even know that any other decks really played it.
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
I just know I was playing it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
I know you
was
were
sad.
too.
I was sad it was gone. I was
Yep.
like, it died for other people's sins. Damn you, Lightning Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dread Return. This is a cool one. I guess I'll kickstart this. This card, it just screams to me that it'll always have something busted to do with when you don't have to pay mana to activate its ability.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no way this card is. I think this card is just like too good. There's nothing I want to see. Its flashback cost is so good. It's 4 mana, but usually it's probably going to be in your graveyard when you replay it anyway. I'm off it. I don't want to see anything about this card in the format. Steven?
Yeah, I agree. This is like it's just asking for just some really stupid crap. I'm not. Yeah, again, just like more like turn 2, even turn 1, just complete shenanigans. It probably turn 2 shenanigans with like dredge mechanic, obviously. Dredging in Narcomoebas and then sacking off the Narcomoeba. And then if, we talked about Bridge earlier. If Bridge is in Modern, then obviously Bridge is in this deck too. And
yeah,
it just sounds just absolutely disgusting. I mean, I'm just thinking about like turn 2 getting Iona'd or something ridiculous. And just not being able to cast any of my spells in my deck. And that's obviously like very base level. Like Grizzlebrand would be, a thing that could come back. There are other completely busted creatures that would be coming back, like dredge type strategies, obviously.
Like, look at this. You go Stitcher turn 1, Gravecrawler, or like Stitcher, Gravecrawler, sack all 3, the Dread Return.
Yeah. There are just like so many things, right? Just so many just absolutely crazy things that could happen.
That turn 2 just sounds like an annoyance. I don't want to mess with
it's just terrible. It's just not fun or interesting at all. Like I said, you play against this and someone Ionias you on turn 2 and you're sitting with a Rest in Peace in your hand and you just die. Like, it's just like...
yeah. Well, this was fun, guys. Dewey, what do you think about Dread Return?
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing you guys are saying, where it's just not worth it. You don't want this in the format.
The risk is too high.
Yeah, way too high. Really, just way too high. Free mana, free spells causes so many problems. So.
Yep. All right, guys. For this next card, can we just all just do an initial agree that this card should never get unbanned?
Is it Probe?
It's Eye of Ugin.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I think we can all come to the same conclusion whenever they have the no ban list tournaments.
It's still the best deck.
The best deck
still
is
just
always
a straight up best deck.
There might be 1 or 2 other decks, but at least 6 are always the damn Eldrazi decks because this card is too damn good.
It's even better than it used to be in Modern because Yavimaya exists. So now they don't even have to play as many Urborg.
Yeah.
Now it's just tapping for mana even easier than it used to.
Now they get to play one of each so they can make sure that they don't have double.
Like, oh gosh, you can just play like this great deck too with like Urborg and Yavimaya in there. Play all your Eldrazi stupidly. Have all the mana fixing. Now you have access to 2 other colors too.
Yeah, honestly, you'd probably play 2 of both because you probably wouldn't draw both of them that often, and then you're way less cold to Void Mirror too. I mean, just totally ridiculous. Just no thanks to this.
Goodbye.
All right, this next one I'm gonna let y'all lead the way on. Steven,
I see it.
It's Faithless Looting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looting is definitely an interesting one. In the decks that like weren't doing dredge things with looting was like pretty interesting and pretty sweet. And we you kind of get like flashbacks of this if you like play historic, right? Because Faithless Looting is like huge in historic right now. It's a very strong card there. Phoenix is one of the best decks in that format, and that's really no surprise because looting exists. And then you have like obviously Darcy just got introduced to it, so looting is super good with him. You know, I ran into some cool like Rakdos mid-range decks with Dragon Rage Channeler and Faithless Looting. Obviously, they were like playing Chromatic Spear as their like bauble unquote card that they're playing that they can like loop with Luris and as an artifact with Darcy and things like that. But the point here is looting is like it's kind of cool in the fair deck. In the dredge decks though, or like graveyard based decks, this card is really, really good. Obviously, you know, Larry, you've played a lot of dredge, so you can attest to how good the card is there. Yeah, I'm not sure on this one. I think they should probably keep it on, but it's close. I would say it's close with this one, because again, I like what it does in the fair decks. I'm curious though if it just like is a little too good in the graveyard based decks. Just like we keep going back to the theme of like monotony and stuff, and with cards like looting, your deck, you're just like you see so many cards with Faithless Looting, just so many cards. Like, you know, if you start with a looting in your opener, you're basically once you've cast the looting and hit your draw step, you've already seen a sixth of your deck, just on turn one. It provides a lot, and I think it might be a little too good. So I'm going to say no with looting, but I do think it's close.
Dewey?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I did love that card, and I think it is amazing in those fair decks. I don't want it in the degenerate decks. It causes way too many issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little more in depth on this. So number one, Steven, I've never played Dredge with looting. Fun fact.
Oh, that's funny. You didn't pick up Dredge until after it got
However,
banned.
I played a lot of Phoenix during that time, so I knew the Dredge side of things. Funny enough, looting has been in Dredge for quite some time. Dredge didn't really gain its traction during that Phoenix time until they gave Golgari Grey Troll back to Dredge. Golgari Grey Troll and looting together is fucked up. I don't know who was high enough to think that was going to be fine.
Right.
But I honestly think with Golgari Grey Troll is that, because that's a card I'm going to tell y'all should never come off, unbiasedly, because you know I wouldn't mind. We'll get to that one, but I honestly think Faceless Looting could be fine. Here are a couple reasons. I don't actually think Phoenix was that big of a deal, which was a good portion of why it was banned. Was Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix and Dredge both had like a big hand in it being banned. I think Phoenix is actually be playable again because let's be real.
Oh, it would certainly be.
Phoenix would definitely be a top played deck again.
Yeah, Phoenix is definitely part of the concern.
Yeah,
because with Darcy existing now too, like the explosion's just going to be even more likely from that deck.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Like, I think that actually Phoenix, the Phoenix deck is more of a concern than Dredge is a concern about Faithless Looting being unbanned.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Yeah,
because I think Dredge is an interesting archetype when it comes to the post board matchups. Because it's so like skill dependent, right? Because if you get a good Dredge pilot, they can play around Graveyard Hate pretty well. But that also could be said for the pilot that's handling that hate and knowing when to be placing hate down, when not to, what kind of hate that you should be playing at this current time based on what Dredge is doing post board, and it all goes, but it's very pilot based.
Yeah. I think that's part of the concern with looting though too, is that looting lets the Dredge pilot see so many cards and find the hate, whereas without looting, it's harder to find the hate. I guess you still have what's the 2-drop they play? Cathartic, right? Cathartic Reunion.
Yeah, but the crazy thing too, in addition to that, is the hate is so much different now too, because you got 2 great cards out of Modern Horizon 2 in Voidwalker
You do.
and Sanctifier, right?
Yep.
2 amazing
Sanctifier,
cards.
in fact, is nice.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
Both of those cards are really good and pretty solid cards, and the fact that a set, because let's be real, Modern Horizon 2 had a ton of graveyard hate in that set alone.
Yep.
With that being said, I think because of how much hate this came between the banning of Faceless Looting and current standpoint, Golgari Great Troll's never leaving the ban list. I think looting is something that we could revisit again. Based off of that, I could end up being wrong in that Phoenix ends up being too good, and I'm only looking at on the dredge side of things, because that's where
Yeah, that's actually with you mentioning it, and then me kind of thinking about like Dragon Rage Channeler.
Yeah.
I'm actually like even almost more disinterested in Phoenix than I. Yeah.
But both of those hate cards work really well against the Phoenix strategy too. So that's the other side of the coin. So it's like I said, it's just interesting. It's hard to really say. I want to say I'd like to give it a shot. The card down the list, I don't want to give a shot, even though it would benefit me. But I do think I want to give a shot with the with Faithless Looting, based off of that, because of the hate. I want to see if that hate's as good as it looks like on paper. And so somebody else on Star City, it was the Star City Channel Fireball, they wrote an in-depth article why Faceless Looting should be unbanned. I'm not going to get into like their whole article. It's definitely worth the read because they made some good points. Some points I didn't necessarily agree with, even though, because I'm not trying to, I don't want to be biased and be like, yeah, looting's fine. It's never going to hurt anybody. It definitely is a powerful card. It always has been.
Yeah.
Very curious to see. By the way, for those listeners, there's a good chance we'll be breaking Modern in 2 because I was literally about to like text the group and be like, hey, we should break this up into 2 episodes. Yeah.
We're not even halfway.
Yeah. We're gonna be breaking it up. We're gonna do a couple more and then go from there. We're gonna do a part 2 episode. More the merrier.
Right.
But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Field of the Dead.
Who's going first here?
I'll start this one off.
All right.
Field of the Dead made Amuletine really good, right?
Oh, dude. So I don't know how much Modern you were playing at this time. This card literally was in like every deck, like literally every playable deck. This card was in it.
Was it?
Yeah. This is like peak Modern, like just terrible Modern in my opinion. Like before Modern Horizons 2 came out, obviously, and like before they banned this card, Modern was just god awful. It felt like every deck that was good had Primeval Titan in it, or Euro. It was either Euro or Primetime. Nothing else felt playable, and nothing else was
nothing else was playable.
Yeah, nothing else was really worth playing. So that's kind of what was going on.
I need to go back and remember when this card got banned in the first place. It's been a while. All right, February of 2021. Okay.
Did it get banned with Euro?
Yeah,
it did. Yeah, and Mystic Sanctuary. Yeah, all 3 of those were they contributed to each other getting banned.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Like I said, I wasn't like saying you were wrong or anything. I just couldn't remember.
No, I'm glad you looked it up, so we
'cause
all can remember. But yeah, dude. So obviously everybody knows my opinion. Absolutely not. After saying, this card was terrible, dude. Modern never felt much worse to me than when I was hopping in Discord calls and watching people just play a bunch of Titan decks, and it was, what flavor of Primeval Titan are we playing today?
Oh yeah, because that's when the green-white deck was doing really well.
Exactly,
wasn't it?
Another flavor of Primeval Titan.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying.
Which Primeval Titan people were literally playing the green 5-drop from Hour of Promise or whatever. The control decks were playing Hour of Promise to plus to Fairy, and then Hour of Promise at instant speed, and then go get like multiple fields or a field in another land to trigger the fields. just so stupid, dude. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, if the audience couldn't tell, hate that card. Really glad they banned it. Not even kind of interested in that card existing either.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, the audience may be able to tell as well. I'm not actually the biggest Primeval Titan fan either. Even though I just top 8 at an event with a Primeval Titan deck this weekend. But yeah, no, it was just really, really not good. Modern sucked when that was just the only thing going on.
Yeah, I feel that is just being able to turn land drops into 2/2s is just never a good thing.
It's just another really poorly designed. Wait, I've talked about a few poorly designed cards so far, and that is just another one that just give me a break. What were you doing?
Yeah,
no thanks.
Hey, they tried to tax it.
They tried to, and it was they tried to put an interesting thought behind it.
The problem is they introduced it into a standard format with Golos and into a modern format with Primeval Titan, right, and other ways to tutor lands and Euro. And it was just a perfect storm of just chaos.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. So Dewey, do you feel the dev was healthy?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, big issues with that one as well. Steven talked about it every way that I would have. So.
That is fair. Okay, let's definitely hit a couple more. Good old Cataxian Probe.
No.
Yeah, everyone probably knows what my opinion of this is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here is
Phyrexian Mana a bunch on this cast, but I'll do it again. This card was horrendous. I mean, for those that play Yu-Gi-Oh, it was kind of similar to Pot of Greed. Just complete nonsensical, just absolutely ridiculous, just not interesting, not a good play experience, really for either. I mean, I think most people casting Probe would even say it was not a good play experience. Just knowing what your opponent has in their hand for free, literal free. I mean, two life is so it's not completely free because it's 2 life, but it is damn near free. And it's just so stupid. Playing decks, creature-based combo decks, and just knowing that your opponent doesn't have the answer to your creature, and just killing them. I mean, it's not interesting. It's not how Magic is supposed to work. It's just bad card design. The mechanic, Phyrexian Mana, was terrible. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just awful, dude. Phyrexian Mana was so bad. Yeah, just absolutely not to that card. That card is just absolutely terrible and not even remotely worth discussing being unbanned. I mean, it's literally one of the worst cards on this entire list, in my opinion. It is that bad. I also hate Astrolabe a lot, obviously, from what I said earlier, but Probe is on a different level. It is that bad. This card is so terrible.
Yeah, the card is just not healthy, right? It just does too many broken things. Yeah, we're gonna just keep that on the no unbanned.
Yeah, the hard no unban. Never take it off the list. Never talk about it. Just forget the card exists.
Yep. And I think that's going to conclude for our modern little dive into some of these cards, because we have plenty for next week's episode.
Yep.
And we'll close off the modern one, because the modern list is kind of hefty.
A lot of history
it's hefty there. And it's also, I mean, I think it's going to be the one that we're probably all most passionate about, because we've been playing Modern a lot recently. So I think we have a lot more to speak to. And I think there are a lot more like our conversation with Deathrite Shaman was very interesting. And I it's comparing it to Ragavan, which is very, very dominant right now in Modern. It's a super good card, obviously. I think we have a lot of interesting conversation about a lot of these cards, whereas some of the cards in the other formats we're not going to have as much to say.
Right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I want us to go in depth in these things. I could imagine that the Legacy episode is going to probably be 2 parts as well, because that's a pretty deep list as well. But I do think the historic and Pauper ones won't be as bad.
Yep.
Not Pauper, but Pioneer. But yeah, I just want to be able to touch every card into like great detail. And like I said, I'm looking forward to doing another one next week. Let's talk a little bit about events that's coming up this weekend. Dewey, do you have any events this weekend?
Kinda. I'm playing a lot of online. There's the Arena Open, and I'm going to be grinding a lot of SCG because it's one of the last weekends to try to get queued for the
Arena
India.
opens this weekend?
I believe so, isn't it? I think it's historic Arena Open.
Or are you sure that's not the SCG he was talking about? I'm just curious. I know there's the SCG that's historic. So I
don't know. I thought
if there is an Arena Open this weekend, I'll be playing that too. Hell yeah.
Let me see.
But
yeah, maybe it is. I was just wondering. I just wanted to make sure that I was
Yeah, they announced it on September 1st.
Oh, yeah,
they talked about it.
And 11th through 12th. Yep, I found it. Yep.
Is it right here?
Yep, best of one historic.
Some historic this week.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I'm playing a lot of historic because I get to double up on events and do my classic double queues.
Classic double queues. Yep.
Nice. That's awesome.
Already braced the girlfriend. I said you can come over, but I'm gonna do a whole lot of ignoring you. If you're okay with that, come on over. But just be aware, you can hang out with the puppers. But there's gonna be 30 minutes, 45-minute increments where I'm just gonna be playing Magic.
Very cool.
Yep, that's awesome, and I'm assuming Steven's going to be doing the same thing.
Yep, I will indeed be playing the Arena Open.
That's awesome. Well, I wish you both the best of luck. I will not be playing any Magic this weekend. We're going to head to sunny Las Vegas this weekend.
Las Vegas this sunny?
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Larry just said it is, so it must be.
You said what?
I said Larry just said it is, so it must be.
Yeah. I did get an alert that there's an extreme heat advisory in Las Vegas right now.
Oh my god, you're gonna love it, dude. That's your favorite.
Oh, it is. The heat don't matter to me when I'm sitting inside.
As long
as you're gonna be inside the entire time with AC. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. But that's okay. I'm gonna go play some Flesh and Blood. It's their first calling event here in the U.S. It's gonna be ran by Channel Fireball. Friday, I'm going to do their world premiere for their new set that's coming out.
Man, that's exciting.
So, ahead of pre-releases, they're having what they call the world premiere. And they're also doing drafts for the weekend. So their draft system is funny because the set's technically not out. They haven't had pre-release yet, right? To do the drafts, you have to use event tickets to enter. So that means you have to play other side events, and the tickets that you get, you can use those tickets to enter the draft. They're not just open to everybody to just like pay to enter. You have to actually use your prize winning to enter those like very exclusive tournaments.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very interesting way of doing it, but it's fine because most people that are going are going to get event tickets, I guess. And then the main events, you actually could get event tickets too because you pay for the main event and you also get 3 vouchers to do 3 side events.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Where Magic was like, pay us as close to $100 and you don't even get a play mat.
Speaking of Flesh and Blood, though, it didn't one of our local stores just break a record for attendees?
Yep. So funny enough, I knew about this because he was pushing to try to do this. So, Christopher Wallen out at Upkeep Games in Howell, Michigan. He actually was able to host a Road to Nationals event. So for those that are wondering what Road to Nationals is, they have a Pro Tour system for Flesh and Blood. Obviously, Worlds is like the top, and then you got the Pro Tours the next year. Under that is Nationals. And the way you get qualified for Nationals is you go ahead and you can gain a bunch of XP points. You get points based on winning and stuff. Or you can top 4 a Road to Nationals tournament. Think of it like an RPTQ, but you're where you if you top 4, you get to make it to the Pro Tour, but you make it to Nationals. That's what this kind of tournament does. So they've been holding them throughout the country since like the pandemic calmed down to a certain level where stores could actually run in-store events for TCGs. And as of right now, they have the biggest one in the United States for a biggest organized play tournament. Obviously, Vegas is about to knock them out the park and beat the brakes off them number-wise, but that was assumed that was going to happen. But being like the biggest draw in the country, that's pretty good.
Yeah, very impressive.
And I believe they're either second or third in the world, I think. I forget which one they were for like biggest events. But I know they are the biggest in the country. So that was huge. Very happy for them. I don't know if you've been to Upkeep Games. It's a nice store.
Yeah, I stopped by. I mean, they're one of the stores that are nearby me. It's still like a 45-minute drive for me. So it's still a little bit of a ways. But no, I definitely had to stop on by. I picked up one of my boxes there recently, too. Because I like to support local stores. So anytime I can buy product, I'm going to buy locally.
Yep, it's a great store. I'd recommend it highly to anybody involved that wants to play Magic. And they have a great online buy list for those that want to trade cards for cards. So definitely would recommend that as well. But guys, I think that's going to put a stamp on it for this week. Was anything that y'all wanted to input?
No, man, it's been a good episode. I was pretty passionate about some of those cards on the ban list. So
yeah, I can't wait for the next episode. So we keep talking about this more.
I'm passionate about some more of them too. So.
Oh yes. I'm looking at some of those that I'm like curious what your guys' takes are going to be.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an interesting show to say the least. Next week, Modern Banlist Revisited, Part 2. But until next time, this has been Larry. Oh, before we wrap it up, let's talk about Dewey's adventure next week.
Oh, buddy, you're right. We can't.
Hold on a second.
What's happening?
Dewey is going to join the tradition next week, guys. We announced it on Twitter already. Dewey has been begging us for weeks to be able to take part of this. Dewey will be joining the One Chip Challenge crew.
What? What?
He will be doing the One Chip Challenge. Now, here is a rule. Here's the rules. Dewey will be allowed to have the beverage in front of him. However, there's going to be a timer in the bottom right corner of the screen, presentable to everyone. It's going to be done live. He has to wait 5 minutes minimum before he can drink. The goal is 10 minutes, but he has to wait at least 5 minutes before he can grab a drink.
Okay.
The goal is 10.
God.
If you can make it 10, Steven will buy you a drink.
Sure, that's fine.
If you make it 20, I'll buy you a drink. I got you.
Ooh, I get 2 drinks if I wait 20?
If you can make it 20 minutes, you get 2 drinks.
All right. Any drinks, huh? Oh, I'm going to go look at my bourbon list.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'll buy a classic standard drink. Probably just get a beer.
I was gonna get you some Steel Reserve. That manly drink.
Manly drink.
Yep, we're gonna be doing a nice little live load to the YouTube page for this video. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna see Dewey's lovely face, maybe for one of the first times on this channel. But that's
heck.
awesome.
If you build up the player base enough, you might be able to get a TikTok going for it. Have a live.
Ooh.
I forgot the rule. I don't know what the rules are for that. I think you have to build up enough of a base first.
That's fair. We'll definitely have to take a look into it. But I know on YouTube we're going to get that live on there. Hell, we might even do a Facebook Live through the Swish.
Yeah, probably should do a Facebook Live.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun regardless for everyone involved.
Yeah, it will.
But now that we got that announcement out the way, we could definitely put a bow on this episode. We will catch you guys next week for part 2 of Modern Banlist Revisited. Catch you later.
Yes, we will.